It was the year 1530. A pharaoh called Thutmose I ruled Egypt. He had 3 daughters. One's name was Hatshepsut. One morning she came here to worship Hapi. Hapi is the Nile god. And thanking Hapi for a good night's rest and for supplying all her needs. And then she noticed a little basket, a little boat. So she sent one of the maids to check what's in the boat. And this was a little Hebrew boy. But she had a problem because her father said all Hebrew male boys should die. What should we do? Kill the little baby? But if God has got a plan for your life, nobody can thwart that plan. Of course, Miriam, the older sister, was there. She came to the assistance of the princess and suggested that she could get somebody to breastfeed the little baby boy. Of course, Hatshepsut knew what was going on. And I think she went to her father. She said, "Dad, the Nile has given me a gift. Hapi has given me a gift." And the gift was a little Hebrew boy. I'm calling him Hapi Moses, taken out of Hapi, the Nile god. And I think at this stage he rescinded the decree to kill all Hebrew boys because his daughter appealed to him. It's like my daughter, if she appeals to me, and your daughter as well, you know, you give them what they want. And for 12 years, the biological mother called Jochebed, she was a direct descendant from Levi, one of the 12 sons of Jacob. And she brought up this little baby boy, taught him all the history of God's people from Adam right to that time. They were suffering and they were praying for deliverance. And angels revealed to Jochebed that your little boy will one day be the deliverer of your people. At the age of 12, he was taken into the palace. Now, if you've been to Karnak, you get a faint idea of the beauty and the luxury of the palace. He came from a hut, dilapidated hut, from a slave situation, and he walked from that situation into this awesome palace. So Moses was transferred from poverty to wealth all of a sudden, and he had to adjust. So here we have a little conflict in the little boy. His mother taught him this way, there's only one God, the Creator God, monotheism, and here he finds himself in polytheism. Beautiful. And little Moses had to learn about all these different Egyptian gods. From a frog to a beetle, from a cow to a bull, from a bird to a snake. And he was bombarded with this. But this little boy decided he will be faithful to God. And after he got his education at the age of 40, the Bible said he was educated in all the wisdom of Egypt. He had so many PhDs, I don't think he could count them. And he thought, well, I've arrived. And God said that I will be the deliverer. This is my plan. I'll stage a coup, overthrow the Pharaoh, and with might we will destroy him. Maybe you've read the story in the Bible, if not, or the Quran, or the Jewish literature. Please read it, it's very interesting. So Moses thought the people would know. Sometimes we think people would know. People would understand. But he made a mistake. He had to flee from fame to shame. And if you've seen the desert in Egypt, can you imagine this mighty prince? He was offered the throne to become the Pharaoh of Egypt. He could have been the mightiest Pharaoh ever in history. And now he's fleeing in loneliness, full of shame and guilt, remorse. But if you've made a mistake, God specializes in people who've made mistakes. Eventually, he came to Mount Sinai, I believe, the mount. And there he met some ladies coming to fetch water. And he was a gentleman, of course. He spoke Egyptian fluently. And he assisted them. Made a good impression, and maybe one of them fell in love with this beautiful prince from Egypt. Well, that's the romantic side of the story. Let's carry on. Eventually he was employed by Jethro, but not as a director or an executive. He said to Moses, listen, I want you to look after the sheep. And for 40 years, the prince of Egypt became a shepherd. He lived in a palace, and now he lived in a desert. He was wealthy, and now he was poor. This is the story of Moses. But in that university of loneliness, he earned his doctorate in a brand new curriculum, the doctrine of humility and patience and kindness. And when this man was empty of himself, God said to him, Moses, I want you to do the job. Time is right. And Moses said, well, Lord, I'm so glad you've made a good choice. I can't think of anybody else that could do the job. No, he said, no. Sorry, try somebody else. I'm not in a position to do this job. And you know, I once read a statement which says, all his biddings are enablings. Eventually, Moses, who couldn't talk proper Egyptian because he was distant from Egypt for 40 years, he talked to God. That's more important than talking to people. And his brother Aaron met him, and they walked all the way to Egypt. First of all, he persuaded the Israelites that God had called him to deliver them. Of course, they didn't believe him, so he had a staff in his hand, a rod, put it on the ground, became a snake, put his hand into his shirt and became leprous, put it back again and it was healed. And here we have the story, the beginning of the greatest deliverance in history. God loved this cruel Pharaoh, Thutmose III, just as much as he loved Moses. And he wanted this Pharaoh to discover the God who made the universe, the God of love, the God of forgiveness. But he resisted the pleadings of the Holy Spirit. So this mighty river changed into blood. So something happened to the God he worshipped. This God disappointed him. And the great God of the universe was telling this man, I'm a more reliable God than Happy, the Nile God. And of course, blood is symbolic of forgiveness. In changing this river into blood, he was telling Pharaoh that with me there is forgiveness, as mighty as the mighty Nile River. Change your devotion from the river to me. So the first God was destroyed. The theology was in peril. And when you go through all the plagues, the entire A polytheistic situation was destroyed. And God was pleading with Moses and with Pharaoh to reconcile and let the people go. So this is the story in brief about Moses and how God used him. So all I want to tell you, if you've made a mess of your life, please don't despair. Because the God who lived in Moses' time is the same God who lives today. If you had to flee from fame to shame, God will catch up with you. And once you've emptied yourself from self, He's got a plan for your life. Please allow Him to do for you what He did for happy Moses, the adopted child of Hatshepsut, daughter of that Moses the first.